Okay, we are live. All right. Wait a few minutes for everybody to come on. Okay. All right. Got a couple people on. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and get started. I want to welcome you to tonight's prayer meeting. I didn't have one last week. I was out traveling and stuff. So I'm going to have one tonight. Um, those of you that watched the Super Bowl, it was a pretty good game. The Rams won it at the end by 3 points, 23-20. Um, but not one team ran away with it. And that was pretty good. I like to see a Super Bowl that's close. Unless it's my team, then I want them to win big. But anyway, um, today, me and my family, now my son's home, and you know, we had some family members over today. Me, my wife, my son, and daughter and a couple family members came over and we watched the game, had a good time. um and it's good to have family over and stuff. And it and looking at it, after the game, I went and preparing for the prayer meeting. Hey, NW. And I was thinking about what I was going to say tonight. What the message, what message could I talk about? What's important? Because there's several messages important when it comes to the Bible, when it comes to God. And I chose to focus on the family. Um, hey Corey, I want to talk about, a wife and children, you know, and both of those are blessings from God. Um, and Proverbs 18:22, it tells us that he who finds a wife finds a good thing a- and obtains favor from the Lord. So when you find a wife, you find a good thing and you obtain favor from the Lord. Because the Lord wants us as men to get married and have a wife and have children. Um, that's what God wants us to do. He wants us to come together in marriage and be fruitful, multiply, have children, and teach them, the right way. And then, they're supposed to move on when they grow up. It says a man's supposed to leave his mother and father and go find a wife and become one with her. And that's what we're supposed to do. That's what the Bible tells us to do. Unfortunately, in today's society, people ain't doing that. People aren't getting married. They're having children, but a lot are having out of wedlock. And that's not what God wants us to do, And He wants us to be married. He wants us to have a family. He wants us to be together, man and wife and God, to be together. And he wants us to raise our children, you know, under the Lord. And I was thinking about today, I was thinking about my trip, going and getting my son. And we were I wanted to do videos on it and I wanted to go see some sites, but we're in a hurry and trying to get back for my wife's birthday. And she just had her birthday, so we celebrated her birthday. And we're going to celebrate Valentine's Day tomorrow. And tomorrow I'm going to have a show with my wife. Um, we'll have like a Valentine's Day show, and you guys can come on and ask questions about our interracial, marriage and stuff. I know some people were saying they want to ask Sandy how she vetted me, and That's good stuff. We can share that stuff with you. We sh- and that's what I want to do is make it like a where we both come on. And I haven't had my wife on in a while, but I would, I'm excited about it. She wants to come on, and it's been a blessing, and one thing that's awesome about my wife that just, I asked her what she wanted for her birthday. Um, you know, and the only thing she said is just bring our son home. And when we came home, she says, "This is the gift. This is the true gift I wanted." And of course, I'm gonna give my wife a gift, but um, it just shows her character. She values family, and means so much to her. Our son spending time with us before he goes over to Korea, and it's been a blessing. And today was, just having the family together. We have our son and daughter. Um, we're missing our oldest daughter, but she's getting ready to give birth to her second child. So her and my daughter and her husband are excited about that. And so are me and Sandy. And I made a awesome choice in my life. I've made many mistakes through my life. I've done, wrong things, made bad choices. But the one thing I did right is I married my wife. You know, the one thing I did right is I came to God to ask God to give me a good wife. You know, and God has opened my eyes when it, comes to women, and early on, and He's opened my eyes when it comes to black women. And I tell you, all the special traits black women have, but I've seen it. God's opened my eyes as a young boy to a man. And I've seen amazing things that black women do. I've seen awesome characteristics from their heart, from, their loyalty, emotion, spirituality, all that stuff. And yeah, other women have that too. I'm not saying just black women, but I've seen special qualities about black women, and I fell in love with black women. And I even asked God to give me a black wife, and He did. And I've been blessed with my wife the whole way. And it just goes to show that God can open your eyes to other people. You can fall in love with another group that don't look like you. You can fall in love with a woman that has a different skin tone than you or a different racial group, you know? And I did that. And I want to show that in a positive light, and it's been positive. We hear so much negative, from the haters. They'll look for 10,000 reasons why you shouldn't marry somebody out of your racial group. And, it's interesting. There's been haters forever that didn't want, interracial relationships or marriages. I look back in earlier times, you know, when you had segregation going on. And hey, 73L Murray, good to see you. I I look at old documentaries back in the segregation days, and a lot of times the people didn't want their kids playing with the other groups of kids. Like you had white people that didn't want their kids playing with black children, and and they would make a statement. And I've seen it in several documents. Well, they'll look at each other as equals, and then they'll play together, and then they'll grow up and date each other and marry each other. And I look at that and I'm like, why is that such a bad thing? What's wrong with that? We're all people. Why can't we love each other? Why can't we see special qualities in another group? And people look at me and say, "Whoa, you say so many good things about black women. Why?" Well, because it's true, and it just proves you can have love for other people, and your marriages can work. I've been married over 27 years to my wife, and I've seen other people married to black women, white men, men of other races too, and they say almost the same things I do, the special qualities. So it's not a made up thing, it's truth. We're all seeing the truth. And and I like to share that because there's negative in the world, but we focus so much on the negative. There's so much positive we don't even see. There's so many blessings around us we don't even see. There's so many awesome qualities in other people that we don't even get to know because we believe those stereotypes generate generalizations, what society says, and we just go with it. It's like a lot of times we're sheep. We believe what other people are telling us before we even find out. Um, but thank God, God opened my eyes and He showed me. You know, He showed me qualities that women have, and He showed me awesome things about black women that I fell in love with, and it went way beyond the physical. How she looks. It went deeper than that. It's like it was such a spiritual thing that my eyes were open. I could see the beauty, I could see the value, I could see the blessings. And I seen that in my wife. And I tell you, when I asked her to marry me, that and she said yes, you don't know how good I felt. I felt, you know, it- and when we got married was the best day of my life, and I always look back at that and I'm like, wow, that was awesome. And I look at my life today and it's awesome. And every day that goes by, I'm seeing blessing after blessing after blessing after blessing. Um, and has our marriage been perfect? No, of course not. Have we had our issues? Sure. I mean, we're people, we're flawed, we will. But the one thing we have is we have love that we have more love than we have problems. Our love overshadows our problems. We put each other above our problems. And that's what a marriage is, really. You know, you're there for each other. Um, you're lifting each other up. You're it's like a team effort. Us as men, we got our roles. We're supposed to be the providers and we're supposed to sacrifice for our wives and children. And women, they're supposed to support us and be loving and loyal. And and a lot of times people don't get the experience that blessing of marriage. They don't, of having a family. Some people say marriage is a piece of paper. Well, marriage, is a blessing from God. It's more than a piece of paper. Yeah, there's legal responsibilities when you get married because you still got to take care of your children and stuff, even if it don't work. Um, but God's going to hold us account anyway. And but a lot of people don't experience the blessing of marriage. And you know why? It's because of sin. It's because a lot of men don't value the women they're with, and it's sad to say. They're caught up in lust and pride, and they end up living that way. And then when they're older, they don't have a family or a wife that loves them. They just had girlfriends along the way, and it's sad. You know, um, but that's what I wanted to talk about because the wife, you find a good thing. The Bible talks about how a woman is worth more than rubies and precious stones. Um, and it shows the value. A good wife is not something you can buy. A good wife ain't something that you can earn. It's a blessing from God. It really is. And a lot of times we take it for granted. In fact, you know, But I mean, I can go on all night about this. I made this video after the Super Bowl, a little bit of what's on my mind and how I feel, and I hope you guys enjoyed the Super Bowl. I did with my family and stuff. Um, you know, I was going for the Rams, but I really didn't care because my team wasn't in there. Um, and my wife was the same thing. She just went for the Bengals. But it was a good game the whole way through, and winning by 3 points. That's a good Super Bowl. Um, but what I enjoyed more than the game is just being together as a family. Having my wife, son, and daughter. That was more important to me. Having that family, having the family together. You know, having that being together, talking, and just remembering, back when our kids were little, when they're toddlers, back when they were babies. And like I said, I didn't get my oldest daughter here. She wanted to be here, but she's getting ready to have her second child, and we are so excited about that. And that's the blessings that come from, you know, you find a good wife, you find a good thing. You marry the right woman, you'll live in paradise. You know, man, where are these trolls coming from? My gosh, it looks like Russian writing or something. I don't know. Maybe somebody's coming in. Um, oh, thanks. Um, Gosh, I got off track. Um, but the most important thing was having family together. And when you find a good wife, you find a good thing. You find paradise. If you marry the wrong woman, you can be, uh, you can live a life of tragedy. It can be heartbreaking. It can be hurtful. It can, and that goes both ways. Women that get with the wrong guy, it could be, it could go bad. It could be stressful. It could be hurtful. It could be, harmful. But you find the right person, you could, you know, your life will be paradise. My life, I'm living in paradise right now, and have been all the time I've been married. And you know, I just want to show this video here, and I might cut it off a little short because it was long. And sometimes when I get my thoughts out there, I ramble a little bit. Um, but my point is family is a blessing. Marriage is a blessing. And marriage can solve a lot of societal problems we have now. I believe it could. I believe it gives our children stability. It gives our children a better chance in life. It, they get the balance, from the husband and wife, and women can't really raise boys to be men. Our men raise daughters, or our daughters little girls to be women. We need that balance. We have impact in their life, of course, sure. Um, and single parents do the best they can with what they got, but we're better off when we have the balance, when we have the man and woman. And when our children see us as husband and wife loving each other, and taking care of each other, that has an impact because children mimic what we do. So many times children become a reflection of us. They really do. A lot of times the sins we do, our children will end up doing. And you see it, you know, over and over. You've seen it in the Bible. Um, Men that had certain sins, their children repeated it. Um, it's kind of like we're passing down a curse, but we can pass down a blessing too. You know, um, we could get married, do the right thing, do it God's way, and we can raise our children right. And you know, that's going to impact them. Now, will they still? will they do the right thing? I think most of the time they will, but there's times they might not. They might go astray because everybody has a free will. Um, you know, but anyway, I'm gonna show you this video real quick, and it's just something on my mind, and it talks about what I was talking about. Um, family and marriage and stuff. Let me put that up there, and then I'm in my jersey, and this was right after the game.
How's everybody doing? Just got through watching the Super Bowl, and so was watching it with my wife and daughter and son, and some family members that came over, and we had a really good time. And I hope you guys enjoyed the game. Regardless of what team you were for, they both played awesome. Um, and Usually, I like to see that in a Super Bowl when one team ain't totally dominating. Unless it's my team, then I want them to run away with it. But anyway, um, it was an event. Family came together, and my message tonight, I want to focus on family. I want to focus on marriage and children. Um, Looking at my life and from the time I got married to my wife Sandy, and all through our life. When we got married, that first day we got married was the greatest day of my life. Um, it was the happiest time of my life. I was marrying the woman that I loved, the woman I wanted to be with. And she said yes. And it was the most blessed day of my life. It was. Um, and as time went by, as we had children, we got three children, two daughters and a son. And every time, a child was born, it was another blessing. And, you know, with my marriage, it's been a blessing all the way. And I give a lot of credit to my wife because she's so loving, she's supportive, and so loyal. And, you know, I tell you the qualities of black women all the time. And my wife displays these qualities, and a lot of black women display the qualities that my wife does. And I kind of relate black women to my wife. Well, my wife is a black woman. So, but I'm seeing it. I'm seeing, and I believe we are the power couple, when it comes to black women, white men. And not all of our marriages work, of course not, in our community. When it comes down to it, we're all people, we're all corrupted, but a lot of our marriages work, and statistically, we're doing well. And I think we vet people more, we vet each other more than any other group, and we do. Um, Black women are shamed for dating out a lot of times. So, when they say yes to you, when they decide to go forward, they've already been through, the haters and the propaganda and all the stuff. And us as white men, we get it too. Not as bad, but we're created like a monster. So much stuff is said about us, fetishization, just wanting black women for a desire, and we're the most violent man when we get violent, and all this other stuff. Um, so there's that barrier, and sometimes when we come together, there's that racial barrier and those stereotypes and generalizations, where sometimes confusion is in there, and sometimes a lot of us don't find how wonderful that other person is from that other group, because we're taught people are a certain way. And the sad thing is a lot of good people don't get to know each other, don't get to be in a relationship because of that propaganda stuff, because of those stereotypes and generalizations. And, But when we get together and we find out the truth about each other, and we see love, it blossoms, and it has with my life. When I married my wife, it was a blessing from the get-go. Was it all perfect? No. Did we have problems? Sure. But we've always put each other above our problems, you know, and we're able to admit when we're wrong, and and we're able to fight for each other. We're able to put each other first, and all the problems that I've dealt with, people saying stuff about my wife and our marriage, and the haters, all of it's worth it, you know. And when you find a good wife, you find a good thing, as the Bible tells us in Proverbs 18:22. He who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. And you do. You're blessed. Um, and I think a lot of times our marriages, white men with black women, but it can also be Asian men or Hispanic, that our marriages work a lot of times is a lot of black women are traditional. They believe in those traditional values. And, that can go a long way. And it has with my wife. I mean, we're both Christians. We're brothers and sisters in Christ. And though she's black and I'm white, we've made it work. And we have faith in God. And when you hit those troubled times, we cling to each other and we pray to God. A lot of times when I pray, I'll hug my wife and I'll pray. She'll hug me. We pray together that way. And sometimes I tell people that and they think that's kind of weird. Why do you got to hug your wife when you pray? Why not? When I'm coming to the Lord, I want my wife to be with me. I want to pray. It's like, you have a child or even a grandchild, they have that special toy and they want to visit with you and they want that special toy with them. And it could be a toy that you've given them. It's special to their heart. And God give me my wife. So when I come to the Lord, I want my wife to be there. That my wife is the most precious thing in my life. She's brought out the best in me. She's always been there for me. And, I'm just overwhelmed of the blessings that I've had. And it starts with marriage, And a lot of men out there, that are coming up, don't aspire to be a player. Aspire to be a husband, a father. That's what God intended us to do, to be, It might not be glamorous, but, it's the most rewarding. And being in a marriage, loving one another. There's no greater love other than the love that comes from the Lord, and raising children. Children are a gift from God. They are. God rewards us with children. And it's a blessing. And yes, we got to sacrifice. Yes, we got to provide for them. But it's all worth it in the end. And watching them grow up. And when they do amazing things, when they're doing good, it fills your heart. It's such a blessing. And, it starts with a good wife, a good marriage. And a lot of times it takes care of itself from your kids, and you plant that seed, within your marriage. Your kids see how you love each other, how you take care of each other. And then they go on and, start their own families. And that can be a blessing that goes on for centuries, for several generations, long after you're gone. A lot of times the choices we make today will impact our children, grandchildren, and generations. And we got enough curses that have been pushed down towards us from generational sin, all the way sin from Adam and Eve. Men are sinful. And we got enough curses on us. we die a physical death because of what Adam and Eve did, disobeyed God. So we're cursed with that. Um, and sickness and diseases, we're cursed with that. Why do you think we have diseases, cancer, sickness? Um, it's because of sin. It's because of the curses that have been pushed down towards us because of actions of men before us, you know, and, we can't avoid that. Stuff that generations have done before us, we're going to be cursed for it. But we could stop that within. We could do the right thing. We could follow God's law, and let's push forth a blessing instead of a curse. That the women we love, let's marry them. Let's have children with them. Let's raise our kids. Let's give them a shot in life. Let's give them hope. And I say black women and white men are the power couple because I believe we are, but we're not perfect. But it takes men and women of all races, all throughout our nation, to do the right thing, to follow God's word. Once we do that and we start marrying each other instead of just sleeping with each other and having kids, we'll be better off in our communities, in our towns, our cities, our states, our nation. And, that's the most important thing. God gives, provides us as men a wife. If we want a wife, we can have a wife. But to, touch a woman or go into, sexual relations when they're not even our wives, that's a sin. And we'll be held accountable for that. No man should touch a woman that's not his wife. Um, Society would look at me like I'm a crazy idiot and don't know what I'm talking about, but that's what God says. That's what we're supposed to do. And if we did that, can you imagine how many problems we can eliminate? If we valued women more as the treasure and prize that they are, and we married them instead of seeing how many we could get with and sleep with and all this stuff, how better would our country be? How better would it be? Just our community in general, regardless if you're in a high income community or low income. How much better would it be if we follow God's law, and follow God's commandments? But we don't, and it's sad because our kids and grandkids will pay the price for our actions. They sure will. So, instead of having relationships, why don't you have marriages? Why don't you marry the woman you want to be with? Because it says in the Bible, if you lay with a woman, she shall be your wife. It does say that. But anyway, I could go on all day about this stuff. Okay? But, God has opened my eyes. God has shown me how much of a blessing black women are and how loving they are, how loyal, and how passionate they are. And I fell in love with black women early on. And I tell you, I have at 5 years old because I could see the beauty within. I could see the blessing. And I see it still to this day. And I see it in all groups of black women from all ages, from early 20s up to 60s and 70s. I've talked to women in those age groups, and they're amazing. And that's what black women are my preference. I think they're the best choice when it comes to marriage, when it comes to raising children, when it comes to loyal love. I believe black women are the best choice. Now, can you find all those great qualities in other women? Sure you can. But from what I've seen in my experiences, black women is the best option. And that's why I took that option. And I've been blessed every day. And the more I'm married, the more the years go by, I'm seeing more and more blessings. I'm seeing it through my kids and grandkids. Um, and I think it's because me and my wife, you know, we did it strategically. Um, we came with an open heart and loving each other and putting each other first. And love is power. You get that power of love, you pass it through your children, grandkids. Now, not all of them are going to do the right thing. You will still have tragedies within your family. Um, with maybe not the intermediate family, but generations down the line. Because us as men and women too, we have a free will. We can know what's right and still do the wrong thing. People do it all the time. But if you're doing it God's way, most likely, most of your family's going to turn out doing things the right way. Um, but anyway, that's my thing. My thing tonight is focus is family, and a wife is a blessing. Kids are a blessing. The family is a blessing. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the Super Bowl tonight, and God bless you. And I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Yeah, that was just a video, and it just stuff that was in my heart, stuff that I observe and stuff. And I talk a lot about interracial relationships because that's my life. Me and my wife are in an interracial marriage, and we've been married over 27 years, and we have 3 kids and one grandchild on the way. Um, our oldest daughter's married, and her husband's in the Air Force, so th- they go all over the place. And our son's in the Army, so he's bouncing around. And our youngest daughter lives with us still. She's going to the University of New Mexico. Um, and but what I'm seeing is people, you're throwing away blessings. And I talk highly about black women. I say awesome things about black women because I've seen it. Um, and it blows my mind that there's people out there on the internet that would attack them and say negative stuff. And the stereotypes and generalizations I've seen with black women, the ones I know don't fit that. Um, and interracial marriages, a lot of times we'll get attacked for it, like, and people say, well, you're self-hating, you don't like yourself, or someone's hurt you, so you go to another racial group. And that's not true at all. There's been no white woman that's hurt me in any way. I have no ill towards them. I have no problems with them. I just have been attracted to black women ever since I started dating. And for the most part, I've dated black women exclusively till I got married to my black wife. And that's just a preference. Okay. But that preference, the reason black women are my preference is because not just because they're beautiful and look nice and, fun to be with. No, what they have inside their heart, the character they have, the loyalty. And I've seen black women, be loyal to their man, even the ones that don't deserve the loyalty. I've seen them, bend over backwards and do amazing things. And I think it's just in their heart. And just, you know, black women, a lot of times they get, certain things mixed up because black women, they are passionate. They'll tell you what they think, but they're loving and spiritual. And there's no other woman on earth that I've seen that meets those qualities. And that's just me. Okay, I'm not knocking nobody. Um, but I have a certain preference, but I went for that preference, and I asked God to be influence in my marriage, making the right decisions, finding a good wife, and I found that. And the reason I have, you know, awesome things that I say about black women because I've seen it, and because my eyes are open. And I don't know, maybe it's because how I was brought up. I never thought I was better than anybody. I never thought the group I come from was superior in any way. I just was raised that people are people, and you can be attracted to someone that don't look like you. You sure can. And nothing wrong with that. You know? There's nothing wrong with pursuing um a certain woman, even if she's not in your racial group, as long as you do it the right way, as long as you show her love. And I did that. I married my wife. I didn't just have relationships with her and bounce to the next one. I married her. We have several years of marriage, and it's uh worked out, you know. But and I share that with you. But you know, color and race don't make the person, it's the character. And God will bless us if we follow his law, if we follow his commandments. You know, a lot of times we end up in trouble because we veer from the Lord. We don't do things God's way. A lot of times we think we got the answers and we don't need God. But when we're knocked flat on our back and sometimes we have to go through that to come back to God, to reach out to God. I have, you know, I've been knocked down and realized what I did wasn't right, and I had to come back to God. It's kind of like the prodigal son. We all go through that. We get rebellious, we do our own thing, and we veer from God, and we live, doing what we want to, and we get into sin, and we go, the other way, and then when we get knocked down, sometimes God knocks us down hard so we see what we did wrong, see where we're at fault, and we come back to the Lord. Um, but in this message, I think marriage is very important. I think marriage is the most important thing. The family's where it's at. Husband, wife, children. You know, and you ladies out there, go for the best option. Go for the man that loves you, and you got to vet. And especially if you're traditional like me and my wife are. Um, it's important, you know. I find my wife beautiful, and I was attracted to her, and that she caught my eye, and that's why I talked to her. But once I talked to her, once we started dating, I needed to know, what does she want? Is she traditional? Does she believe in God? How does she feel about having families? How does she feel about marriage? And ladies, you should be asking the men you're dating, what do you want from me? What do you want a marriage? And sometimes people will tell on themselves, well, no, I'm not ready for marriage yet. I just want to hang out and date. Okay, now you know where they stand. Sometimes you find out what people are like just by talking, but you got to vet. What what about racism? I'm dealing with other white men. Okay. Racism, what about racism? How you deal with it? You don't practice it, of course, and you stand against it, you know? And there is racism out there. It's a sin, and racism's one thing that, has been taught through generations. A lot of times, well, racism is something that you don't come out born racist. That's something that's taught to you. Um, and that comes from, I think racism comes from a lot of things. Believing you're better than others, uh, maybe fear of others, uh, you know, you're dealing with other white men. Are you in a relationship? Are you a white man in a interracial relationship? No. Are white men against you You being with a white man, is that what? I mean, you're going to have racism. Me and my wife have dealt with racism. There's been some issues we've had, um, but it's never stopped us from being married. It's never stopped us from being happy. It's never stopped us from living our lives. I think the best way to fight racism is to live your life and be happy. You know, and it's sad. It just, you know, uh, but marriage. I think we need to get back to marriage. I think we need to get back to God's plan for us, because marriage is what God wants us to do. He wants us to get married and have a family. He don't want us to just, have relationships and go to the next relationship. What is that? Some men doesn't want to marry, they just want to have yeah, you're right. So some men just want to have sexual relationships. They don't want to get married. And those are the ones you stay away from because they don't value. They're living in lust. Um, and there's so many men like that that they just want to have sexual relationship. They don't want the marriage. They don't want the responsibility, you know. Those are the ones to stay away from. And it's sad because of course you are right. Okay. You know, but there are men that want that. There's so many, and they'll lie to you. They'll tell you, "Oh, they're in love with you," and this and that. And I think a lot of times, uh, we have children born out of wedlock because men want to have sexual relationships because they're living in lust and they're living in pride. It's prideful to sleep with other women, to go to the next one. We glorify that in society to where on women, we treat them the opposite. But that's what you got to find out. And ladies, um, if a man won't have a relationship with you because you won't have sexual relationships, you need to stay away from him. He's not worth it. And if you're doing it biblically, you shouldn't have sexual relationships till you're married. A man shouldn't even touch you till you're his wife. Period. And ladies, you're more important. There's more value to you than having relationships with a man that's temporary. You're worth more than that. The Bible tells us you're a treasure. The Bible tells us that if we find you, we find a good thing. You know, you're beautiful. Your body is sacred. Save it for your husband. You don't need to, and a lot of people are caught up in that. I think a lot of women believe that they have to have sexual relationships with a man to keep a man. No, you know, you're more important than that. And if he can't wait for you, he don't deserve you. Period. Ladies, you're worth more than you're given credit to. And especially black women, you're doing so many amazing things. Um, and you're so loyal, loving, and beautiful. You're worth so much more than you get credit for. I could go on and praise black women from now till next Thursday, running a straight live, and that wouldn't even be enough of what you deserve. And the thing of it is you know what? You're worth more than that. If the man can't wait for you, if he can't marry you, he don't deserve you. And that's where we got it wrong as men. If if the man can't love you and get down on his knees and thank God for you being in his life, he don't deserve you. What advice do you have for us older women who still like to marry? Um, well, I would say you still got to vet, and I think sometimes um I think older people, men and women, I think a lot of times, and and I could be wrong, but I think from people I've talked to, I think it's easier for older people to get together and get married be- because they're not playing the game. They're not, you know, I think they know exactly what they want and they go for it. Um, not all. There are older men that'll play games with you, but I think when you get older, you're more mature. You have more wisdom. You understand the value of marriage. You understand the value of two people that love each other, that spend time together. And goes way beyond the physical thing. You guys are best friends. Um, you're a team. You're a family. Um, regardless of what age you get married at, you can get married at 20 or 65. Um, but a marriage is two people coming together. And the advice I would give to older people, I've only been married once to my wife. So in my dating experience, I stopped dating back in 1993, right before I married my wife. And my wife was the last person I dated in 1993. So I don't really have a lot of dating advice. I could tell you uh about my life early on when I was dating, some of the experiences I had and what's worked for me finding my wife and stuff. I have a question. How long did it take for you to marry your wife? Because some men want to date for 3 or more years. Uh, I'll tell you, I knew my wife 5 months and I married my wife. Didn't and some people said, "Man, you jumped in too quick. You shouldn't marry that quick." No, I already know what I wanted in my wife. And she wanted to be married too, and we're both traditional. We share the same faith. We both wanted kids, we wanted a family, and we love each other. So it didn't seem hard at all. And I will tell you this, if a man loves you and wants to marry you, it ain't going to take forever. You know, he wants to marry you. And in fact, I'll be honest. I proposed to my wife 2 months before I knew her. 2 months after I knew her, I proposed to her. Is that crazy? But I think it worked for me and my wife because we both know what we wanted. Um, and she was 25 and I was 24, and we wanted to be married. We love each other. And oh, thanks, Organic Black, for the super sticker. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Um, if a man loves you and wants to marry you, it ain't going to take him years to figure it out. It's not. And like I said, after 2 months, uh, I knew I wanted to marry my wife, and I was all in. And she said yes. And the reason it took 5 months is because I went in the army and I had to go to basic training and AIT, and I had a- and it took time for me to do that, and then I came back home and married my wife. And we didn't know what day we were going to get married because of my training and stuff. But I would have married her sooner. It just the thing of it is if a man loves you, he's going to do everything he can to have you for his wife. He really is. Um, you know, so it don't take years. I've seen people date for 3 to 8 years, and I'm like, what are you doing? Actually living together. I've seen people live together for years in the same apartment, have kids together, raising kids and can't get married. I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. You know, um, it's weird, but it don't take long at all. If the man really loves you, he's going to want to marry you. And I would say if it's been a year and he hadn't, then he probably don't want to marry you. I'm just saying. Um, and I've seen people that live together for years and then get married and then they break up. I don't know. Um, Never settle for a long-term girlfriend. Yes. Don't settle for that long-term relationship. Okay. Um, because dating is getting to know that person, finding out if that's who's right for you to be your wife or husband. That's what dating's about. Dating ain't, going to dinner and sleeping with each other. That's not what it's about. It's getting to know each other. Or it should be. Um and guys, if you take women out on dinner and it don't work out, she don't owe you nothing, you know? And you got to invest. You want to find a good wife, you're going to spend some money. You're going to take different women on date, and some ain't going to like you. Yeah, they might get a free meal out of you. So what? I mean, you can earn more money. Come on. But you got to put out the work. You got to put out the investment. And you're going to get rejection along the way. And ladies, vet the man. You know, if if he wants to have sexual relationships with you and he don't want to marry you, then he needs to be kicked to the curb. And according to the Bible, he's not supposed to touch you till you're his wife. I mean, that's biblical. Society will argue with me forever about that. But you know what? It's right because it comes from God. It's not popular. It's not what people are doing, but it's right. It's God's law, and we need to follow it. And there's something interesting. There's so much people that have issues about interracial marriage and dating and this and that. But how many people go on videos talking about the marriage rates? And every community, our marriage rates are going down. More and more of us are having children without being married. Does everybody hit that on? Do they put as much energy into that as who's dating who or marrying who interracially? They don't. A lot of guys want to pressure women to have sex. Yes, guys will pressure you ladies to have sexual relationships with them. They will. But you got to be on your guard, you know, cuz ladies, you have more to lose. You really do. Um the man could lie to you, have sexual relations with you. You could have a child because of that, and he can bounce on you. And yeah, you could go after him from child support, but you know what you're going to get is a little portion of his income. And that's not hardly enough to raise a child. I've had 3 kids. I know how expensive they are. Very expensive, you know. And that's just providing the basics, you know. Especially children, when they're born, the formula, the diapers, um, constantly buying clothes because they're growing. You got to feed them. Costs a lot of money. A big responsibility with children. And if we were smart, if we had wisdom as people, we would think about that and say, you know what? We probably want to wait till we're ready. And we probably want to marry that woman that we want to be with. So when we do have children, you know, and children are better off with both parents. Logically, it makes sense. You have a man and woman in that family. You got two people providing, right? Um, us as men, we're supposed to be the provider, but in reality, there's many families where both the man and woman work. Some people they both have to put in. Um, but if you're married, you have that. But if you're a single parent, You don't have that. You have one parent, and then maybe, government subsidies and stuff like that will help, but it ain't going, provide you with much. Not 28 years. Okay. Yeah, you shouldn't be dating someone 28 years. Uh, but what do you think about family? What do you guys think about marriage? Me, I think it's a blessing from God. Um, being married is a blessing. And I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, having a wife, being married, all things are better. And you know what? When it comes to intimacy and stuff like that, that's better too. But you get to feel love for that person. Not just the physical part, but the mental, the emotional, the spirituality, the passion. Everything is so much better when you're with that person you love. In a marriage, everything is better than dating, and you're doing it God's way. You're blessed. And I tell you that, back when I was younger, I did date, and once I got married, all them things were better, you know? The physical, the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, everything's better. You feel love, true love, all aspects of love, not just the physical part. A lot of people are confused. They think because they're having sexual relationship that that's love. No, that's not love. It's a part of love that's supposed to be within marriage, but it's not love. It's a piece. Love has so many areas. Uh, 28 years is a prison sentence. Yeah. Who said 28 years? What's going on with 28? Someone's been dating for 28 years and not married? Dang, I'm going to be married 28 years soon, and that's not a prison sentence to me. That's total paradise. Me and my wife together is paradise. It's a blessing. Yeah, love has many areas. It does. And to really experience love, you got to experience all the areas. Not just the physical part, A lot of us get when we're young and dumb in the physical part. A pastor proposed to his girlfriend of 28 years. Wow. And it's a pastor? Didn't he crack open the Bible? Ugh. Mm. Unless, his girlfriend, he wasn't, touching her, or they were just like friends for 28 years. Find that hard to believe. Pastor is 72 and his girlfriend's in his 40s. Ooh. Yeah. Mm. Ugh. I don't know. That's odd. When you're that old, I don't know. To me, I think it's a blessing. Me and my wife are the same age. Well, she's a year older than me, but we're in the same ballpark. We grew up in the same era. We have so much in common. Well, we grew up in the same town. Um, so we have a lot in common. Uh, you know, sex can cloud your vision. You might think you're in love that person. It's wrong for you. That's why it's better to have sex. Yes. Mona's, that's correct. Yeah, and you shouldn't have. That's why you shouldn't have sex till marriage, because it does cloud people's vision. It does, and they think it's love, and really it's just lustful desire. And I'm gonna be honest, us as men and women, we do have that as attraction to each other. We do have that desire, but there's a time and place for everything. Sexual relationship is a blessing from God when it's done within marriage. A husband and wife having sexual relationships is a blessing. It's a gift from God. It's a part of love. And from that we have children, and it's a way we bond and show love for each other, but it's got to be done within marriage, not with random people, not with your girlfriend, not with someone you hang out with. It's supposed to be done within marriage. It should be done within marriage, and then you experience that true love, and it's more meaningful having sexual relationships within marriage because you're doing it with the person you love, and it makes it so much better. It really does. Emotionally, spiritually, it's so much better, you know, because you put true love into it also. Um, but we do get clouded, especially when we're young and dumb, and our hormones are raging, and we have that desire, and we think that's love. It's not. That's why it needs to be within marriage, and you know, it's the more responsible way of doing it too. Because once you're married, then you have kids together. You can raise the kids and they have a better environment. They have a better chance in life. You know, you're not throwing two strikes at them before they even get started. You know, and I'm not going in on single parents. I'm not. Um, I understand. You know, but I mean, even if you're a single parent, you can get married. You can still have marriage. Um, the man you might be with has kids too, though. You know, so but God can still bless you. So you can still be blessed. And you know, but if we did things God's way, gosh, we would eliminate so many problems in society. And unfortunately, we don't do things God's way. A lot of times we drift away from God and we do what we want to do. And we're all guilty of that. I've been guilty of that. All of us have. But there comes a time in our life where we got to see the truth. You know, we got to come to God and say, "Lord, help me." Help me do what's right. And doing the right thing is much harder than doing the wrong thing. And young men, you got to think. If you really love that woman you want to be with, do you love her enough to marry her and not have sexual relationships with her right off the bat? Do you love her enough to wait? You got to ask yourself that. Are you a true man? A true man can wait. A true man can restrain himself. A true man, you know, loves the woman he's with. The true man marries the woman, but how many true men are out there? Uh, what would make a man be with a woman for more than 20 years, live together, propose in the city, never marry? I don't know. Uh, that blows my mind. I can't understand why people live together and not get married. I can't. I People do it all the time, and they can do what they want to, but it's not what God wants us to do. And I think about it, I'm like, wow, if you could live with that person that long and have children with them, why couldn't you marry them? But so many people are living that common law life. Uh, in some states, you're held liable just as if you're married. You know that? In many states, you know, you're held liable just as if you were married. But we don't value marriage like we used to. We don't celebrate it. I showed a video of a while back of a couple, interracial couple in Africa getting married, and the families were celebrating. It was like a big party. Everybody was happy. That they were celebrating this man and woman coming together in marriage. You know, They were it was uplifting. It was like a part of life, a blessing, the the experience you have together. That's what marriage should be. We should look forward to marriage. You know, we should be taught as children, we, us as little us even us men when we're boys, we should be taught that, we need to love and respect women, you know? We should be. Yes, I saw this video. Oh, you saw it? Okay, good. Yeah, it was a nice video. Yeah, in South Africa. Yeah, it was a beautiful video. It was two people come together. She was from South Africa. He was from Europe. I think he's from England. And you know, they talked about the cultures and how in South Africa that the man would go to the father, when he wanted to marry the daughter, and he'd give him so many cattle or something, and the woman's value, dependent, like she was educated, so her value's higher, and that was in their customs, and that was in their traditions. And I was joking about the bridal fee, but I think there's some merit into that. That the man is showing that he can take care of the daughter, and us men that have daughters, we want the men that our daughters decide to marry to be able to take care of them, to be able to provide for them, you know? And it kind of made sense to me, that tradition, because if you didn't have no wealth, how could you marry, the woman? And why would the father want you to marry his daughter if you can't provide? It makes total sense to me, you know? Because us as fathers want the men that our daughters are with to provide for them. We do, you know? And us as men, we got to work hard and build our way up to where we can provide for a wife and family. You know, we should. Uh, yeah, and if you're having kids, most definitely, you got to provide. You know, and you know, the young men my daughters have dated, I'm real interested in what they do. I want to know everything. You know, and when it comes to the time they're dating with my daughters, I'm real interested. Tell me more about this guy you're interested in too. What does he do? What job does he have? I'm real interested because, if it becomes serious and they get married, I want to make sure he can provide for her, and I'm interested in his character. Is he a nice guy? Will he provide? I don't want her to get with some abusive idiot that can't provide. That's very important. I pray about that all the time. I pray about my kids marrying the right people. I pray for my daughters. And my oldest daughter has, you know, she's married to a good man. She's blessed. Um, and I thank God for that. But I still have my son and daughter, and I hope they marry, people that love them, you know. I hope my son finds a good wife and my youngest daughter finds a good husband. I pray about that all the time, you know. I do. And and we should pray for that, you know. And I tell my kids they need to pray for a good wife, good husband, you know. Tell my daughters pray for a good husband. My son pray for a good wife. Be responsible. Um, cuz that can impact our life so much. And looking back when I was dating, some of the, women I've dated, sometimes I look back and say, "Thank God that didn't work." I see how they turn out later on. And some of you ladies probably think, "Man, thank God that didn't work out with that dude." Gosh, you know, sometimes rejection's a beautiful thing. We don't like it. It hurts our feelings, but sometimes it can be a blessing, believe it or not. Uh, that guy is a loser who can't. and won't compete with other men for you know, I met a guy and he was telling me why why should a man provide for me and ask why can't wow. I'm gonna put this up here. I found this interesting. I met this guy and he was telling why should a man provide for me and ask why can't I take care of myself? Excuse me. When I am an adult, he says that certain traditions need to stop, such as oh, that's if you get with a guy like that, you need to let him go. Number one, we're supposed to provide him as men. Um, God tells us we're supposed to. We're held accountable for our families. We're supposed to provide for our wives and children. You know, and probably a guy that says that probably don't want to provide for you. He probably wants you to either take care of him or he wants to meet you halfway or split the rent or some craziness. Okay. Um, a true man's going to provide for you. And if he's economically, you know, s- sometimes people don't have a lot of money and sometimes both, you know, the wife and husband have to work. But if he's a true man, he'll strive to move up the ladder till he could get to a point where you don't have to work, you know. But he's got to have that mindset to be the provider. You have that mindset, you know, and that motivation, you can be the provider. You can. No matter where your economic status is, you can move up. You can get better. God says a man who doesn't provide is worse than an infidel. Yes. Yes. A man that can't provide is worse than an infidel. Men, that's our job. You know, so many men say, women need to submit and we're the head of the household and the leaders. And yes, we are. Now we need to start acting like it. We need to provide for our women and children. And if we want women to submit to us, which only wives should submit to their husbands, not girlfriends. If we want that, then we need to provide for our wives and children. And the Bible says that men should love their our wives like Christ loved the church. How much does Christ love the church? So we should love our wives like Christ loved the church. That we should love our wives as much as laying down our lives for them, if it comes to be that. You know, and you get that, you get perfect love. And you know what? If you love your wife like that, most likely you're going to get submission, and she's going to do it not out of obligation, not because that's what she's supposed to do, but because it's natural, and she'll want to do it because she loves you. You know, I think a lot of men that complain about submission are mostly men that ain't married and ain't doing what they're supposed to as men. I believe that. You know, but ladies, you're beautiful. You're a treasure. Okay, and you're a blessing from God. And vet those men, and do not give yourselves to a man that don't deserve you. And most definitely, you know, don't have sexual relations with men. Tell you're married. Um, you know, that's what we're supposed to do. Now, will people still have relations out of marriage? Sure. Um, but you're kind of rolling the dice when you do that. You guys might have sexual relation, and he might love you and marry you, and you live happily ever after. That does happen. Or he might pump and dump you and go to the next woman. That happens many times too. So just something to think about it. But ladies, you're beautiful. You are a blessing. And your body is sacred. What's the Bible say about our bodies? Our bodies are like a temple, and we should take care of our bodies. And you know what? That means not doing drugs, and that means eating the right food, taking care of your body. It's like a temple. That's what the Bible tells us. And we ought not abuse our bodies. And that means having sexual relationship with multiple people, you're taking a risk. That's another thing why marriage or sexual relationships should be within marriage. We would stop a lot of diseases if we did that, wouldn't we? If everybody waited till they're married to have sex, we could avoid uh, unwanted pregnancies. We could avoid transmission of diseases. And how much emotional heartache do we go through? When you have sexual relationships with someone, you can mess them up mentally. You really can. You know, it's something that should be done with people that love each other within marriage. Intimacy should be between a man and his wife. It shouldn't be with just whoever wants to get together. We're taking something that's a blessing from God and using it as a recreational thing. A woman has a right to tell lustful men no. Yes, she does. She has every right to tell lustful men no. Test drive paying bills. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, they don't want. They're going to test drive paying your bills. They'll test drive having sexual relationships with you though in a heartbeat. Yeah, they will. Yeah, and that's true. It having sexual relationships, getting intimate with someone that can mess with you emotionally, mentally, and it creates broken hearts because someone might do it because they just lustful and want to get that lustful high, and the other one might really have feelings for you, might actually be in love with you, and that's abusive in itself. You know, I've seen people that have had sexual relationships with other people, and I've seen broken hearts and people messed up, both men and women, because the other person's just looks at it as just having sex. The other one looks at it like it's something meaningful. And having sexual relationships with a person, it you know, it's there's meaning behind it, and that's why it should be done within marriage. And I don't know how we got into sexual relationships, but I think it needs to be said because people need to hear it, you know, because it is something that's meaningful and it needs to be within marriage. And you know what? When you're married and you have those relationships, you get intimate, it means a lot. It's special, you know? But when you're doing it with just random people, you're cheapening it. You're making it not worth what it should be. Um, and you don't have to worry about that emotional breakdown and broken hearts because you both love each other. You know, yeah, sex is much more than physical. Yes, it is. It's much more than physical. You can take the strongholds and curses of each person. Yeah, and that's why it needs to be within marriage. You know, and the way you value it is doing it with men marriage, and it's more meaningful. And believe it or not, guys, there are men and women that have waited till they're married to do this. Okay, you can do it. It's possible. I know people that have done it, you know, and they avoid all them problems of people that don't. They don't have to worry about unwanted pregnancies. They don't have to worry about diseases. And then when they're married, hey, then it's meaningful. It means something. It's special, you know? Yep. Okay. I'm gonna put this link up here if you guys want to come on. If not, I'm gonna close out this live. Um, yeah, I'm gonna put it. I have to put up there. Uh, yeah. But anyway, my message is you know, marriage, wife, and children are a blessing from God, and our children are a blessing from God, and so many people we don't look at children as a blessing. We look at them as like how can I say it, as a hindrance, as you know, but it's a blessing. And you know what? And coming together in marriage, you know what? Both men and women are happy. There's less stress raising children, and your children will be happier too. Um, and I'm not knocking single parent families because I know they do the best they can. And I know a lot of single parents that love their kids and they would give their life for their kids in a heartbeat. And they're good parents. It just if we have a choice, we should choose to marry each other. We should. Um, it just makes things so much better. And that's God's plan for us. That's what he wants to do, you know. And unfortunately, we've got away from our morals, we got away from God, and we're suffering from it. Society, we're paying the price. We really are. When it comes to, successful, education, success in life, crime, uh, you know, because I believe, we're a product of our environment. And regardless of your racial group, black, white, Chinese, or whatever, a lot of times how you end up is the environment you're in. If you have two loving parents that care for you, that are, guide you the right way, usually you turn out okay. Um, but if you don't have that, and you don't have the resources, or you might even have might just have one parent, um, you your environment has a lot of how you turn out. Now, there's always exceptions. I mean, I've seen people come out of poverty and do very well. Um, and I've seen wealthy people that turn out to be failures in life. y- You know, um, but us as a man and woman, we should create that right environment for our children. Because regardless, people that have both parents do pretty well. And there's been studies on all economic levels, you know, because they have that balance, they have that true love. But those that don't have that, a lot of times they're put at a disadvantage, you know. And you know what? We set up our kids for success or failure by our own actions. We really do. Um, you know. But, if we did things God's way, we'd be better off, you know. Uh, But anyway, but I do believe that. I think we're a product of our environment. I think a lot of times, because our environment, what we're taught, people we're around, we're influenced by. Um, a lot of times, you remember growing up, your parents might say, "Hey, you know what? You might want to stay away from, you know, those friends over there." And growing up, I was like, "Why?" But looking back, I understand. They were getting in trouble. They're doing stuff they shouldn't be doing. And us as people are influenced, both good and bad. You know, um, with peer pressure and stuff. Sometimes we mimic not just our parents, but the people we grow up around. You know, so us as people, we could be that positive. We could be that positive influence. Because believe it or not, whether you know this or not, people watch you, people observe you, and you have more influence on people than you even know. So be that positive influence, you know, because I would love to look back, when it's all said and done. Maybe one day we'll be able to look back and say, wow, maybe we'll see that person in heaven and say, you know what? I watched you, and what you did was a blessing, and I did what you did, instead of like, man, I listened to you and I went downhill, or I did what you did and I ended up in jail or whatever. Um, I don't know. Just, you know, but family is important. You know, being married is a blessing from God. And we should all, aspire to be married. We should all look to us as men, we should strive to be husbands and fathers, and women to be wives. That's what God wants. He wants us to be a family. He wants us to be married. He wants us to have kids. Uh, God's covenant in marriage is paramount before say yes. Premarital sex can destroy your community. Yes, it can with your spouse because your relationship is based on the physical. And our relationship should not be based on physical. Okay? It should be based on love, and God should be involved in our relationships. The physical stuff comes later. I know it's the desire to want it. I get it. We're human, but you know what? It comes later in the relationship. And if you really love that person, you can wait. Many guys want to be players right until 40s and then suddenly want to commit to their body slowing down. Yeah, that I would say that's probably true. Um, men that are young want to be out there, be players, have relationships with women, and when they get older and their bodies are slowing down, then all of a sudden, yeah, there's a lot of guys like that. Oh, well, all of a sudden, yeah, I want to settle down and get married. Okay. And then a lot of times the guys want a younger woman. It's like, really? Did you read Don't Bring Don't Bring White Boy Home? I didn't read that. Is that a book or is that some comment? What was that a comment? Did you read Don't Bring White Boy Home? Uh, no. Is it a book or is it a comment? What are you asking? Okay. It's a book. Oh, okay. No, I didn't read that book. Um, you know what's funny about that? It is back, when I was a teenager back in the 80s, and when I was dating interracially, there were a lot of girls that didn't wanna that were afraid to bring me home. And my thing is this was kinda like my vetting process. I felt if you couldn't bring me home to meet your family, you didn't really care for me. So I would just end the relationship. That's how, I was kinda starting to vet in my younger days, but a lot of them were afraid. They would hesitate. And, sometimes the father didn't agree with our interracial, relationship, you know? Uh, I wonder if that book talks about that, because I've dealt with that back in the day. Um, but it wasn't always like that. I had some, women I dated that would bring me home, the family was okay with it. Um, you know, it it wasn't always like that, but a lot of, black women, their fathers would say, "Don't bring a white boy home." My father used to tell me, "Don't ever bring home a white boy." Yeah, there's and that's a real thing. Um, and the reasoning behind it, I don't know. Maybe they, because of history and stuff and racism and all that stuff, maybe it's that, the white boy might be tied into that. I don't know. Or maybe they just didn't think it was a good idea. But I've dealt with that, But with my wife, her family accepted me. I mean, they embraced me. It was awesome. And people ask me about our families. How did we deal with our interracial marriage? How did we cope with that, with the family and the problems back and forth? Well, we didn't have to deal with it. There wasn't no problems back and forth. Um, you know, and maybe it's because where I live, where I live, interracial relationships, people don't care about it. If you want, you can do it. Nobody has a problem. I think some places are easier to live in interracial relationships where people are okay with it. Where maybe some other places, not so much. Um, I found that out in the army when me and my wife moved around. Some places weren't like home where people openly accepted us. Some people did have a problem with us being married. Um, most people ain't going to approach you and just tell you, although we have had people do that. But, most part, people keep that to themselves. But, some people are more welcoming with interracial families than others, you know. Uh, what's that? When other men express interest in me, my father's words would play in my head. Yeah. But, it's ultimately your choice. But the thing of it is, find out about people. Find out the man that's interested in you. Ladies, find out about him. What does he want? What is his interest? You know? Um, how does he feel about you? Um, does he believe in God? Does he believe in family and marriage? You got to ask those questions. You got to know. Um, I knew I wasn't going to bring home a Pookie and Ray Ray because he was black, scorning me from white men wasn't an issue. Okay. I was always afraid of the pushback from my family. You know what? And that's a common thing. I think there would be even more interracial marriages with black women, white men. I think a lot of them are afraid to push back from families. Um, and that's a real thing. And especially if your father tells you not to bring that boy home, that's tough. Yeah, that's interesting. But you know what? I think that's kind of true that fathers are more okay with their sons dating out than their daughters. I think that's true with society. I think, just watching YouTube and stuff, I think people are more accepting of black men marrying white women than white men marrying black women. I think that's totally true. From what I've seen, because there's more animosity when black women do it. It seems like there's more attacks when black women do it, especially with white men. A lot of people do not like that. But black men with white women, it's like okay, nobody really cares. Um, you know, and it just seems interesting to me because black men marry and date out 2 to 3 times what black women do. So logically, they should be more accepting of it. You would think. Um, and us as white men, we don't care if white women date out. Even the ones that only prefer white women, they really don't care. And maybe because there's so many white women out there that it don't make a difference. Uh, you know, um, no one can dictate your happiness. Yes, not even family. You only get one life to live. Love has no color. Very much true, Chrislyn Perry. And you know what? When you're finding a husband and wife, you know, love no no love. I'm getting tongue twisted. There's no love knows no color. It's true. You can fall in love with anybody outside your race or within your race. You can. And you know what? You know, and I found love outside my race. And it wasn't because I hated myself or any of this crazy stuff they try to tell you. I just seen the qualities, and black women are beautiful. I've been attracted to them. It has nothing to do with hate. It has all to do with love. This Hebrew Israelite guy I met has a white baby mama who he is no longer with, but he was telling me a rage comes over him when he sees black women with white men. Hmm. Interesting. There are black men that'll date out that don't like to see black women do it. I don't know if it's something psychological. Um, I don't know. I don't know where that comes from. Maybe it's comes from historical sin, or I don't know. But yeah, I've seen. Well, you can see it. You can see it in. You can even see it in celebrities. You remember that comedian Godfrey? He flipped out over a interracial billboard, and he's like, "Well, where's the one with the black man and white woman?" Like, who cares who advertises what? I don't. Yeah, I prefer. But anyway, guys, I'm going to go ahead and close this out. It's already 11 where I'm at. Um, Sorry this was late. I just had, the Super Bowl with the family over and, you know, wanted to spend time with my son and wife and daughter and, the family that came over to see my son. It was a nice night. And but I felt I needed to do this prayer meeting and talk about and the thing I really wanted to talk about was family, marriage, you know. And to me, marriage is the most important thing within the family, within the community, within society, you know. And thanks 73L Marie. Um, I think we need to focus on family, marriage, you know. Um, regardless of your racial background or ethnicity or any of that stuff, marriage is important. And us as men and women, we owe it to our children. We do. Um, because our decisions can impact our kids. They really can. And you know, I pray for you guys. I pray for our country. I pray for society. I pray that we could go back to marriage. I wish I could convince people that marriage is the most important thing, and that we would cling to marriage, that we would do it God's way. I think it would do us all better. It would. Unfortunately, people are going to do what they want. Societies, our morals are, we don't have the same morals we used to when it comes to marriage. And unfortunately, our children will suffer for it. They'll pay the price. But those of us that know the truth and do the right thing, we can hold it together somewhat. And at least we can, pass down a blessing through our families. And you know, and I think marriage is the most important thing. And even if we had kids and not been married, I think we should encourage our kids to come together in marriage and do it God's way. Um, when is the next prayer meeting about marriage? I don't know. I've done a few about marriage. I think my last one was about marriage, but this was, I wanted to talk about marriage and family and stuff and how important that is because the marriage is the foundation of the family. The marriage, um, it's a man and woman come together, and as they have children, they got that foundation. And I believe it starts with marriage and how our families turn out is marriage has an impact. Because we could come together and have children without being married, but um, you know, marriage creates that foundation. It's and it create it's you have to be responsible in that marriage. You got to provide for your wife and children. Um, but anyway, the next uh the next prayer meeting will be next Sunday. Um, you know, but thank you guys. When you asked when is the next prayer meeting about marriage, I don't know. Uh I could do it again, but it's like I've done it 3 times. But even regardless of the topic, I could talk about marriage. A lot of times I throw marriage in there because I feel it's so important. I think marriage is, just an awesome thing. It's a blessing that we're all overlooking, you know. Um, but anyway, thanks. Happy St. Valentine's Day. Oh, tomorrow me and my wife are going live. I'm going to bring my wife Sandy, and we're going have a Valentine's Day show, and we're going to talk about our love, our family, and our marriage. And I'll have my wife on, and you guys could come on and ask questions. I'll have an open panel, and if you want to, put comment or questions in the chat, you can. All I ask is when you do that, make sure you put it in caps so we catch it, because a lot of times, we get folk. I have a one track mind, so I'll miss questions. I feel like talking about views of marriage is essential. First date conversation, just yeah, yeah, J10. I think so. marriage and family is essential. And I talk about it a lot. Maybe I don't think you could talk about it too much because marriage is important. And marriage is the foundation of the family. And if you truly love someone, why wouldn't you want to marry him? I can't see me just living with my wife Sandy. Just I want her to be my wife, and she is my wife. But I was raised traditionally. I knew when I was a teenager I wanted to get married. I was thinking about marriage then. Of course, I wasn't going to get married as a teenager, but I knew there was going to come a time I needed to get married, and I wanted to. And I come from a traditional family where marriage is promoted, where marriage is a blessing, and I've seen it. Some people say that might scare guys off, but it's the best to weed those guys out. Yeah. And maybe some of the guys you need to weed off. If marriage scares them, they need to go away anyway. You know? But you know what? I'm not worried about scaring guys off. LOL. That would be a good thing to weed up the wrong man. Yeah. And sometimes you need to do that because there's a lot, you know, I say there's good people in all groups of people, all colors of people, there's good people, but there's also garbage in every group too. And you got to weed them out. Too old to be dating for fun anymore. LOL. Yeah, and you know what? We need to take dating more serious. I believe even as young people in their 20s, they should take dating serious. You know, because what do you want? Do you want a relationship where it's all physical? What about children? Children can come from that. Have sexual relations, and do you love that person enough to marry them? So, I mean, marriage needs to be talked about a lot. And I think the younger we talk about it, the better. I think as parents, we need to talk to our children about marriage. I do even before they're ready. What it means, the importance of it, you know, why we should get married and not just mess around with each other. Why that's a bad thing. Why marriage is a good thing. And why you got to be cautious on who you marry because that person can affect your life in so many ways, both good and bad. And my father always told me, he says, son, you find a good wife, you'll find paradise. You find the wrong wife, you'll find heartache and a broken heart and tragedy. And you know what? That's so true. I've seen guys that married the wrong wife, and their life is, there is a heartbreak. They suffer for it. But those men that find a good wife, they live a good life. They're happy. You know, I'm happy. My needs are met. I got a wife that loves me. I got a best friend. I got somebody that puts me first, and I put her first. I got someone that I love being with. And it's not all about the physical. Of course, that's good too, but I get love from my wife in all areas. And it's a beautiful thing and it's a blessing. I married the right one, you know. My wife's a blessing and she's impacted my life so much in the positive, and I look back, sometimes I get emotional. Sometimes I'll break down and say, "Thank you, Lord." You know, cuz I see the truth. I see the blessing. And so many times we go through life and our eyes are closed. We don't see what's in front of us. You know, we don't see women that are around us as blessings. I did, you know. I seen my wife Sandy, and I knew she was the right one. My eyes were open, you know? And black women are a blessing. I say these things because that's what I've experienced. That's the truth I have. And you can say, well, that's just your preference. Yeah. But look how I treat my preference. I'm married to my wife over 27 years. She's the most important woman in my life, period. You know? But anyway, I could talk all night about this. Um, yeah, it's past 11. We've been on for 2 hours. The Bible says marriage is not to be entered too lightly. Yeah. People sometimes marry due to loneliness, unfortunately. You can get married and still be lonely. That's good. Yeah, you can. And I mean, when you go into marriage, you got to be cautious. You got to do it the right way, and it takes a lot of prayer. It does. You need God's help in this, regardless of who you are, regardless of how much wisdom you are, how much intelligence. You need God's help. You do. Because marriage is the most important decision of your life. I believe that. You know, but yeah, some do it for loneliness. Some do it. Uh, because they find the person attractive and they might not get to know them, so they jump into marriage. Um, there's so many areas. But anyway, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and close this down. Um, it's good seeing you guys tonight. Um, I think we had a pretty good prayer meeting, and I know I go over marriage and family a lot, but I think it's very important. I believe marriage is the most important decision you'll make. And it could be the biggest blessing of your life. It can. It has been for me. And marriage is the foundation of the family, you know. But anyway, it's good to see you guys. God bless you. Tomorrow night, I'll be going live with my wife. I don't know what time. Uh, it'll be in the evening sometime. It's not going to be a late night live or nothing crazy. Uh, I'm thinking maybe 7 or 8 Eastern time. But we'll see how tomorrow plays out. Um, you know, got some family things we're going to do tomorrow too, and but we're going to have that Valentine's Day live with me and my wife Sandy, and so come on it and watch it, enjoy it, and ask us some questions. And we might not be able to answer all your questions, but we'll try, and you know, and we'll talk about our marriage, and that's over 27 years of marriage. May will be 28 years. Okay, so we're almost at 28 mark. So, that's a lot of experience, a lot of stuff, we've been through. And, we could tell you how it was dating back in the 80s, how we got married in the early 90s, and how things have changed. Um, you know, and, the blessings that we've been through and how we had to at times stand up for each other and fight for each other, put each other first. And that's what marriage is about anyway, fighting for each other, putting each other first, and putting each other above your problems because we all have problems. But, in our marriage, yeah, we irritate each other at times. We get on each other's nerves, but at the end of the day, I love my wife more than she could ever irritate me or, you know, our love's more important than that. And she thinks that of me too. Um, and that's why it lasted because there's true love there. But we both, prayed about it. We both came to God before we got married. And I think that's very important. That's a big impact. But anyway, um, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Come in and join my wife Sandy. Um, she hadn't been on in a while, but we're going to have fun, and she's excited to come on. And you know, I'm looking forward to it. And a number of you guys asked me to bring Sandy on, and we're going to do it. She's been waiting for a while because she wanted to get her hair done, and she got it done. It looks beautiful, and we'll see you tomorrow night. We'll have a good show, I think, and it'll be fun. And I'll have an open. I'll put the link up there tomorrow night. So if you want to come on, you can ask us, straight out, or you can do it in the chat. But just make sure it's caps so I catch it, so I don't miss it. But anyway, guys, have a good night. God bless you and your families, and pray for one another. I ask you, please pray for me, and I will pray for you, and please pray for my brother. He just had his leg amputated from the knee down. A couple years ago, he got in a bad car accident in Atlanta, and it shattered his leg and arm, one side of his body. Um, he hit a dump truck going head on and went through the windshield, but he survived. He's doing good. He's in good health. His knee was so shattered they couldn't repair it, so they had to amputate from the knee down. So he's dealing with that now. They're waiting for it to heal so he could get a prosthetic for it. Um, but I ask you to just have him in your prayers. He's a good guy. Um, he is a preacher. Um, he's been a youth pastor for many years, and he preaches, and that's what he does. Um, he's got an awesome wife and two awesome kids, and he's got a good family. And my brother's awesome, and you know he, he's been through a lot. And the crazy thing is he jokes about it. He's he's got, I just think he's glowing with the Holy Spirit because he's just happy. Even though all he went through, he's happy about. He says, "Well, that's what God wants me to go through, so I got to go through it." And he's like, "Praise God." How he does that is beyond me, um, but you know, say a prayer for him, and please pray for my oldest daughter. She's going to have another child soon. Um, her and her husband are excited, but always pray for that, and you know, and anything you guys want me to pray for you on, just send me an email. Um, I do get emails with prayer requests, and me and Sandy both look at them. We pray together, and so we do look at that, and we put it in our church's prayer request. And my father and my mother-in-law at their churches, they put it in their prayer request too. So more prayer, the better. Um, and that's what it's all about. And us praying together, us having love for each other. And I think of you guys as family, even though I haven't met you in person, even though we haven't sat down and talked, and I'd love to. I'd love to meet a lot of you guys because you guys, just communicating with you online and stuff. Uh, it's been a blessing to me. It's been uplifting. My brother, he watches my show, and he sees the comments that you guys pray for. He's uplifted, and he wanted me to tell you thank you, and that he appreciates you guys, and you know, and and he also told me, hey, if they got prayer requests, send them to me. So I send them to my brother too. So you know, um, but it's. But anyway, he's doing good though. He's in good spirits. He's getting around, and he's just got to let that leg heal to where they can give him a prosthetic. And he's looking forward to, getting back on his feet, and his wife's so supportive, and it's and he's my younger brother. He's like 12 years younger than me, and I look up to him. He's an influence on me, even though I'm the big brother. But it's funny. He did things the right way, and I think I always tell him. I says, "Well, you're welcome, because you got to see me do the dumb things that not to do." So, but anyway, but yeah, join me and my wife Sandy. Valentine's Day. Look for it around anywhere from 5 to 8 p.m. Eastern. I just in that ballpark. I'll try to go live as soon as I can, but I got a lot of stuff I got to do tomorrow, and but we'll do this, and come on, guys, and ask questions, and you can pick our brains. Whether how we vetted each other, how we got to know each other, what our families thought about each other. And I'll tell you this, our families both come together. When me and my wife came together in marriage as husband and wife, our families came together as friends. They really have. And it was a blessing, not just our marriage, but within our families. And it's, you know, a lot of times that's rare, especially when you're in an interracial marriage. Sometimes family members don't like it and they can't stand each other. But our families, and maybe it's because, we're Christians. Maybe it's because, you know, we accept each other as people instead of looking at our racial identity. But anyway, um I'm gonna go ahead and close this, and I'll see you guys tomorrow, and we'll have a good show. I'm looking forward to it, and my wife Sandy is. We've been talking about it today, and we're getting ready for it. So you know yes, J10, I will announce it uh when I find out a couple hours prior. I'll put it in my community page, and I will most definitely do that. As soon as I find out what time we can actually do it, I will put it up there. I most certainly will. Yes. But I most definitely will. And come on and join. And I'll have a open panel. If you guys want to come on the panel and ask us questions, I'll leave that option. And you don't have to cam up. You can come in the avatar if you want, where it just shows a picture. You can do that. That's your choice. But that option's open. So, but I'll see you guys tomorrow. I will post it a couple hours prior, so you guys can get ready for it. And so, you know, and it's kind of, you can get the replay, but you can't ask the questions after it's been done. So, I'll try to give the best information when we're going to do it. I'll keep you guys informed, and that way, you guys can be there and stuff. And looking forward to that. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. God bless you and your families. And have a good night, guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night, Corey.